In this part of the video, we are going to question whether unemployment rate is a good measure and showing what is happening in the economy or not. As you remember in the previous chapters, we always look at a measurement for economic data and then we question whether the measurement is right or not. So here with this example, we will understand that unemployment rate is not a perfect measure of unemployment, but actually it is the best measure. Let's look at this question. In each of the following, what happens to the unemployment rate? Does unemployment rate give an accurate impression of what is happening in the labor market? Let's start with the first one. Sui lost her job and begins looking for a new one. So let's think about the unemployment rate definition. It says that the rate shows that number of people who are unemployed and looking for a job. So Sue lost her job and begins looking for a new one. That means she's considered as unemployed by looking at the definition. So number of unemployed people increase by one more. Let's remember the U rate calculation. U rate is equal to 100 times number of unemployed divided by number of labor force. So since U rate unemployed people increase by 1 by including Sue, then unemployment rate will increase too by some percentage. So as you see, what happened in the economy in reality, one person lost job and looking for a new one, and unemployment rate is showing that person. So it's actually accurately measuring the number of unemployed people in the economy. So it's an accurate impression of what is happening in the labor market. Perfect. Now let's look at the second one. John, a steel worker who has been out of work since his mill closed last year, becomes discouraged. This is the key word here, discouraged, and gives up looking for work. So going back to unemployment definition, unemployed people are the ones who lost their job, who doesn't have a job, and actively looking for a job. So given that definition, this John becomes discouraged, not looking for a job, giving up looking for work, is implying that this person is not considered as unemployed because of the definition. So in fact, in reality, John doesn't have a job. He just discouraged because he couldn't find a job. He wants to work, but since he doesn't look for a job, he's not considered as unemployed. So unemployment rate will not going to include that person. Unemployment rate is not going to change, although John doesn't have a job. And in reality, in the real life, what is happening is there is one more person that is unemployed. But since he's not looking for a job, he's not considered as unemployed. As you see, unemployment rate does not give an accurate impression of what is happening in the labor market. Okay? This is done too. Let's look at C. Sam, the sole earner in his family of 5, just lost his $80,000 job as a research scientist. Immediately, he takes a part-time job at McDonald's until he can find another job in his field. So, according to employed definition, employed people are the ones either work full-time or part-time. This person, Sam, is considered as employed. But he is underemployed. What is underemployment? He's taking a job that is not matching his qualification. He's a research scientist, but working as in McDonald's makes him underemployed. So U rate is not going to include this person. Sam is actually unemployed because he doesn't work in a job that matching his skills and experience and education. But unemployment rate is not going to consider this person as unemployed. This person is going to be employed. So as you see, unemployment rate does not give an accurate impression of what is happening in the labor market. You see, Sue lost her job and begins looking for a new one. Unemployment rate rises. A rising U rate gives the impression that the labor market is worsening, and it is. John has been out of work since last year, becomes discouraged, stops looking for work. Discouraged workers would like to work but have given up looking for jobs, classified as not in the labor force rather than unemployed. U rate falls because John is no longer counted as unemployed. Okay, a falling U rate gives the impression that the labor market is improving, but it is not. C. Sam lost his 80,000 job and takes a part-time job at McDonald's until he finds a better one. Unemployment rate unchanged because a person is employed whether they work full or part-time. Things are worse, but the U rate fails to show it. So let's look at, does the unemployment rate measure what we want it to? Does it? Let's ask this question. The U rate is not a perfect indicator of joblessness or the health of the labor market. Why? Because people move into and out of the labor force so often, and statistics on unemployment are difficult to interpret. On the one hand, some of those who report being unemployed may not, in fact, be trying hard to find a job. They may be calling themselves unemployed because they want to qualify for a government program that gives financial assistance to the unemployed, or because they are working but paid under the table. Okay, so that means some people misreport their work status in the BLS survey. So they tell BLS is unemployed, but actually they do it to get some government benefit, and they maybe work under the table. Okay. What else? On the other hand, some of those who report being out of the labor force may want to work. These individuals may have tried to find a job and may have given up after an unsuccessful search. Such individuals, called discouraged workers, do not show up in unemployment statistics even though they are truly workers without job. Okay, so unemployment rate excludes discouraged workers. They want a job, but they are not considered as unemployed. And the other problem is the unemployment rate or employed people does not distinguish between full-time and part-time work, or people working part-time because full-time jobs are not available. So that's why unemployment rate doesn't show the health of labor market. But despite these issues, the unemployment rate is still a very useful barometer of the labor market and economy. So for this reason, we have different kinds of unemployment rates: U1 rate, U2 rate, U3, U4. Especially U4 rate includes discouraged workers into the unemployment rate. Okay, that's an important thing. And one important thing is to understanding the duration of unemployment. So we can ask this question: how long are the unemployed without a work? In judging how serious the problem of unemployment is, we need to consider whether unemployment is typically a short-run phenomena or long-run phenomena. If unemployment is short-term, it's good. It's good. Why? Because one might think that it is not a big problem. Workers may require a few weeks between jobs to find openings that best suit their taste and skills. And so that it's just give a couple of weeks is not a big financial problem. But if unemployment is long-term, one might conclude that it's a serious problem. Workers unemployed for many months are more likely to suffer economic and psychological hardship. Okay. So for this reason, there are many research are done for this issue, and what they find, most spells of unemployment are short. Okay. And most observed unemployment is long-term. So it may be complicated when you first see this slide, but let's make an example. Suppose that you visited the government's unemployment office every week for a year to survey the unemployed. Each week you find that there are 4 people. Okay, you go to the office and you realize that there are 4 people sitting in the office each week. Week 1. Okay, A, B, C, and D. Okay, and 3 of these workers are the same individuals for the whole year. So there are 55 weeks whole year, and 3 of them stays the same, and the person D changes every week. So the second week, this is first week. Second week, this person becomes A, B, C, staying here, A, B, C. But this person turns into BF, okay, another person. So it goes like that. So based on this experience, would you say that unemployment is typically short-term or long-term? Let's do some simple calculations. In this example, you met a total of 55 unemployed people. 3 of them every week stays the same person, but one is changing. So every week one different person is going to be 52 different person, plus this 3 ABC is going to be 55. And 52 of them are unemployed for 1 week and 3 are unemployed for the full year. This means that out of 55, 52 are going to be employed in a week. So when you look at this ratio, you'll realize that 95% of these people, total people 55, unemployment spells and in 1 week. But whenever you walk into the unemployment office, 3 of the 4 people you meet are 3 of the every week. When you go to the office, you realize that 3 of the people is the same compared to 1 people. 1 people is changing all the time. 3 of the 4 people you met will be unemployed for the entire year. So every week, as you see, 3 out of 4, 75% of the unemployed observed at any moment is attributable to those individuals who are unemployed for a full year. So what does that tell us? Most spells of unemployment are short. As you see, 52 people out of 55 in a year find a job in a week. But most observed unemployment, when you go for 1 week to see what is happening in the government office, you'll realize that most observed unemployed, that you see 3 out of 4 people, is long term. Okay? So knowing these facts help policymakers design better policies to help the unemployed. So that is what we find. This subtle conclusion implies that economists and policymakers must be careful when interpreting the data on unemployment and when designing policies to help unemployed. So our next question is, we realize that there are some people unemployed for a year or maybe longer. The question is, why are there always some people unemployed? So, in most markets in the economy, as we know, prices adjust to bring quantity supply and quantity demand into balance. In chapter 4, you remember that there is always a balance in the economy. Supply and demand come to a point that the price and the quantity equilibrium is going to be determined through supply and demand. And in an ideal labor market, wages would adjust to balance. There should be a wage adjustment to balance the quantity of labor supplied and quantity of labor demanded. This adjustment of wages would ensure that all workers are always fully employed. Of course, reality is not the same. There are always some workers without jobs, even when the overall economy is doing well. In other words, unemployment rate never falls to zero. Instead, it fluctuates around the natural rate of unemployment. So what is natural rate of unemployment? It's the normal rate of unemployment around which the actual unemployment rate fluctuates. So there is always an unemployment in the economy, 3, 4, 5%, but that always stays. We don't have 0% unemployment rate in the economy. That rate is called natural rate unemployment. And we are trying to understand why we have always unemployment, natural rate of unemployment in the economy. Natural rate of unemployment, a concept for long run unemployment rate. On the other hand, there is another unemployment, which is cyclical unemployment. This chapter we are not going to talk about cyclical unemployment. This is the deviation of unemployment from its natural rate, associated usually with business cycles, which we will not study in this class. Let's look at the data. You will see that this is the unemployment. The red one is the cyclical unemployment rate, and the natural rate of unemployment is the blue one. During the financial crisis, you realize that the cyclical unemployment increases. Like, for instance, in 2008, 2009, it increased to 10%. The natural rate, that is the existing unemployment rate when the economy is good, is normal times, is the blue line. And the red line is what is happening during the financial crisis, bad times, sometimes good times. This cyclical unemployment goes below the natural rate. Okay. So now in this chapter, what we are going to look for the following slides, we are trying to understand why we have natural rate of unemployment. So there are two reasons that there is always some unemployment. The first one is explaining the natural rate, right? Not the cyclical rate. We are not going to explain why we have a cyclical unemployment. That is coming from business cycles, we know, but this chapter and the following slides will explain why we have a natural rate of unemployment. Even when the economy is doing well, there is always some unemployment. We have some unemployment because of two reasons. The first one is frictional unemployment. That happens when workers spend time searching for the jobs that best suit their skills and taste. And that is mostly short term for most workers. And the second one is the structural unemployment. And this explanation of unemployment suggests that the number of jobs available in some labor markets may be insufficient to give a job to everyone who wants to have one. This usually occurs when the quantity of labor supplied, and as you know, the supply side for the labor market is you. When you look for a job, you supply your labor, and the demand is the firms and the businesses that have job openings. So the labor supplied, that means people looking for a job, exceeds the quantity demanded, that means the job openings available. And this kind of unemployment is called structural, and it's usually taught to explain longer spells of unemployment, okay? And we will learn why we have frictional or structural unemployment in the following slides.